Welcome to the Rural Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Larson. Today we're with Mike McCartney, director of the Pawhuska Chamber of Commerce, for a second time. We're talking about all things economic development, starting with the revitalization efforts that helped pave the way for the Pioneer Woman Mercantile and the tourism rush that followed in Pawhuska, plus business incubators, people moving in from out of state, finding workers and housing to accommodate growth, and what happens when everybody says somebody should do that, and how that somebody might be you. I know you will learn so much from this conversation, and if this gets you excited, I want you to seriously consider joining our Cultivate community. Inside the group, we have conversations a lot like this one. Cultivate provides the community, tools, resources, action steps, and network you need to take your revitalization efforts to the next level and keep gaining momentum. There are lots of perks for joining this group, and I'll just let you know, this is where I share my best ideas. For the month of September, you can come join our Cultivate community for free to see what it's all about. Find all the details at ruralrevival.co/cultivate and use the code CULTIVATEFREE, all one word, all caps, for your free access. I hope to see you in the group. Now, get ready to take some notes because we're on to the podcast with Mike McCartney. All right, we're here today with Mike McCartney, the director of the Pawhuska Chamber of Commerce in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Mike, thank you for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I've wanted to have you on here for a long time, so I'm really excited that this is happening.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope I don't disappoint you.
I have a good feeling you won't. Well, tell us a little bit about you and your history with Pawhuska and why this place means so much to you.
Well, I was born here in 1960, and things were booming pretty good at that time. So my folks were, they weren't both born here, but they were raised here. They were born here and then moved here as little kids. My dad's family lived here prior to him being born, but then they moved off and then came back. So I spent all my life here, and I spent 26 years in business with my father. He was the funeral director, the hometown funeral director, and he worked for the family that founded Johnson Funeral Home in 1905. And one of the children of Mr. Johnson took my dad in when he was a young kid and raised him in that business. And he ended up buying it when he was about 70, I think, somewhere around in there.
Wow.
But I spent 26 years with him there. My sister came in, and she and her son have since purchased the funeral home after my parents passed away in 2016. I came to the chamber in 2006. I'd spent time on the chamber board, and just the opportunity came up for me to go to work for the chamber. So there I was. I left for a little bit, for about 4 years. I went to the city as city manager, and now I'm back. So I don't know how long I'll be back, but I'm here.
Yeah. Well, when did you start in this timeline? When did you start getting involved with revitalizing the community? Was that before you came onto the chamber?
No, not really. Probably after I got on the chamber board. I was 40. I spent like I said, my life here, and it wasn't until till 2000 when I was asked to be on the chamber board. And I always kind of did a lot of stuff with organizations. I was kind of the guy that carried all the chairs and tables to the functions. And I know everybody will hear me say that, but that's kind of the way it was. Oh, Mikey will do it. Mikey will do it. So I did. And but I had the opportunity to be on the chamber board, and I just kind of got involved a little bit more with that type of work, not just kind of running up and down the street visiting. And that's what my dad always said. It's about time somebody paid you to do what I've been paying you to do all this time. Because I would leave and I'd be up and down the street visiting with people trying to figure out just exactly what could make things better. So anyway, I got on the chamber board, and then later in 2006 I took the chamber the director's job, and my business partner and I, Kathy Ross, we were always sitting around. She was on the chamber board as well at one time, and everybody seemed to say, "Hey, you need to, and you all ought to be doing, and why don't you?" And nobody seemed to be paying attention to what they thought they need to be doing. So one day I told Kathy, I said, "We're they, and maybe we better do something." And we had some friends. Raymond Redcorn had ended up with some buildings down across the street from the post office, and Steve and Debbie Easley ended up with the historic Whiting, and they were renovating those buildings. And Kathy even had started a project, or had probably just finished it at that time, down where Mud Pies is, and completely renovated an old garage, like a mechanic's shop. And so we found 3 buildings downtown that had been empty for a long time, and I went after her and I said, "Hey, let's do this." And she said, "I've already got a building." And I said, "I know, but this is a perfect opportunity." And we talked about it and finally said yes. So we took those 3 buildings and started working on them, and then ended up buying one next door to us, and they all went together. And then we bought 5 littler buildings up the street for a few years later. But we had 9 properties at one time.
Wow.
And then we were blessed. We first started we called it a incubator, and a retail incubator. We had a few shops a few people open up in those buildings that just didn't pan out. They were there for a little bit, and then they went on. There just wasn't a whole lot going on in Pawhuska as far as the downtown and retail area.
And let's pause there for a second, because I think in today's world, we think of Pawhuska as this thriving place, home of the Pioneer Woman, a lot of people coming here to visit, but that was not the case back then. So paint that landscape a little bit for our listeners to help. I want them to see how far it's come, but like where you started too.
Well, Pawhuska used to be a thriving community, big community. We had the Triangle Building had office space in it. There was attorneys and dentists and real estate and all kinds of people. That's a 5-story building that we have right in the center of our downtown. We had J.C. Penney's and TGNY, which was a 5 and 10 cent store. We had Anthony's with department store, and then down along all the other buildings were just family-owned type business, with jewelry shop and of course a pool hall and couple of shoe stores, and just, I mean, it was when I was growing up, they were all full, and there was a lot going on downtown. And then as the big box companies come in, as has been for a lot of small communities, the mom and pops didn't feel they could compete with them, or didn't want to compete with them, so then they just kind of shut down and moved out. There were a few of those that stuck around. We had Moore's Hardware that stuck around, and different ones like that. But for the most part, the downtown had become kind of empty. And we had a few people that came along that opened up businesses, and they were a little bit ahead of their time maybe, and opened up restaurants and little boutique stores, but they didn't last long. And so there were a lot of empty buildings, and some that had just fallen in the home. They were people that didn't live here to take care of them, and they eventually fell in.
Yeah.
And some of them probably, as we discussed before, some of them probably didn't need to be demoed. If we could have gotten to them just a little bit earlier. Some of them were, just shells that I know that Raymond Redcorn they went in and red ironed some buildings and pulled them back together and kept the outside intact and put new roofs on them. But and that could have been done to, I think, some of them, but not many had the vision to think that you could do that.
Yeah.
So, but our buildings, when we purchased them, they'd been empty for quite some time. And one of them, where the old pool hall was, the retaining wall in back they had gone in and put gas lines in and didn't fix the wall. And so it just over the years, because it's a huge, it's a big hillside behind it, and water and rock and mud just came through the back of the building all the way out to front.
Wow.
And I tell the same story all the time when I talk about it, but water was arcing out the front door of the building, and mud and rocks, and 2 or 3 different times that they had gone in there and pulled the mud and rock out, but then it just kept coming when we'd get a big rain. So we had to go in and we put a retaining wall in front of the retaining wall up against the building, and that's how we preserved that building. But then we had to go in and put central heat and air and electric, and the old pool hall, it was shortly before we ended up selling them. We had to go in and put a plumbing in because it never had plumbing. So a lot of those buildings down there didn't all have plumbing. So, and it, you think, oh my gosh, it's a huge expense. But when you do it, you just have to make up your mind you got to do it.
Yeah.
And we were renting them first for, $300 a month. And we were making our mortgage, and that was our plan. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we finally decided that we wanted to do it, we didn't go into it with the idea that we were going to make a bunch of money. We went into it with, let's try to get something going. And that's where the Shops at Townmaker Square came in that we put in. 2 of the buildings there was a lot of people, and I'm sure you know of them as well, that have little, they sell different things. They have a line of clothing or makeup or something that they're selling out of their back of their cars or the garage, and that was our target, was to get those people in to a brick and mortar and start collecting sales tax and try to help the sales tax base for the community.
Yeah.
So
you created a business incubator.
Yes. Knowing
that this is probably a key to growing the downtown again.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. We didn't really call it an incubator because that wasn't.
Right. We know it to be that now.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know. I mean, there's business incubators where people, share offices and that type of stuff. But we were just trying to get people out of their cars and inside. We had a 13-year-old girl that came in and opened a shop with her mother, and her mother was trying to help her with retail, and that really caught the eye of a lot of people. And in fact, it's what sent me to 2 or 3 little communities to kind of explain what we were doing, because we were acknowledged by the state, and for our entrepreneurial ideas or something. I can't remember now exactly what it was, but anyway, so I ended up going to a few little communities and talk about what we were doing, and the 13-year-old girl blew their mind.
Wow.
And later we've been friends our families have been friends forever, but her brother ended up being my son-in-law. But later,
how about that?
Just a little tidbit of information. But Meg did a great job with her little store, and we had several, and there again, everybody thinks they want to do it, and but they don't realize how much work there is to it. So it does help. I mean, even if they didn't stay, it did help them realize that, that's really not what I wanted. And they didn't go out and try to buy a building or try to buy a bunch of inventory to fill up an entire building and then get sour on everything. So, but it worked out real well for us. And we ended up buying 5 little buildings down the street. And we did have a few people incubate out the shops at Townmaker Square into their own little building up the street, and they were ideal because they had they were just small buildings, and they were probably, I don't know, maybe 3 times as big as their space that they had at Townmaker, and so they could add a little bit more and have plenty of room, and it wasn't just in a little box.
So you allow them to grow.
Yes, and that was the whole idea.
Buildings. Yeah.
I
love that. So for people, let's get kind of deep into this model a little bit, because I think we're going to have a lot of people listening who are like, okay, how exactly did you do that? So you started by buying the buildings.
Right.
And at the time, if you were to buy those buildings today, that would cost you a good chunk of money. And they still cost you something, but not what they would today. So you bought these buildings at a low price.
Yes. Because we weren't really sure. And we tried 2 or 3 other things. We purchased the buildings, and then it was like, now what? So we felt that we needed an art gallery. We felt that we needed a coffee shop. We felt that we needed all these things. We needed a lot, but we felt like that we could go in there and spruce them up a little bit, and boy, people just fall in there. And we did. We had a young lady that came in that had been away but moved back to Pawhuska, and she opened a coffee shop, but there just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough folks coming to town yet. And then we had an artist that came in and opened up shop. She was there for quite a little while, and she had summer classes for kids, for the school kids, and worked out really good. But she then moved on, so we had to try to figure out just what we were going to do. And Kathy had my business partner. She had a retail shop. She was a designer, and she kind of purchased things for actually for her own. The people that she worked for, her own customers, and but then she put a big shop in the Townmaker, which really helped. But I keep jumping around, but we tried several different things, and then we came up with that idea of the shops at Townmaker Square, and so we had a guy come in and just kind of make the spaces for us. And those people we found some folks that wanted to put some art in, and then, like I said, Kathy opened up her little shop and she didn't keep her shop open all the time, and down the street. So we just started reaching out to folks, and we had people from around the area, not just Pawhuska, but around the area that came in and brought their goods in and sold them. And there were some like antique type people as well, and so
it was a good combination.
It was, and it all worked. We had both sides. We had the pool hall side. We had 18 little businesses in both of those buildings at one time. We had somebody that would work the business that sat there and sold, and they paid. I want to think 10%. Is what they received from the sales from each booth, and that's how they were paid. And so it supplemented somebody's income as well, along with helping out the little soon-to-be retailers.
Yeah, and the sales tax piece that you mentioned before is key.
Yes.
Explain that and how that kind of helped kickstart things as well.
Well, I have to just be flat honest about it. any little bit helps your community.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not getting it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how your community it operates. I mean, we have sales of electricity and water and sewer, but a lot of communities live off sales tax. And so, and that definitely is what helps us as well, but that's not just what we have to live off of in our community. But it does help. Any little bit of sales tax helps with your community, running your community. And so I have to say, we were blessed to have Ree Drummond choose to open up her shop in Pawhuska, and it has just bloomed from there. And we've had a lot of retailers, a lot of people come in and open up shops, boutiques and stuff, quite a few boutiques, and that has really helped that sales tax just, boom.
Yeah,
so,
skyrocket.
Skyrocket,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but that was our thing, was we were just trying to get people to pay sales tax. We would collect it, and we sent it into the state, and that was kind of our goal, was to increase the sales tax, and it did. But then again, I don't want to just say that we did it, because we would have, if it wasn't for the Pioneer Woman, we would still not have what we have today.
Right.
So, but we did have people that were trying really hard to make it. So
Yeah. Well, I love that you had the vision for this town before that was even a thought, So you were thinking of this before the Pioneer Woman was thinking about having a shop here.
Right.
And I think you built a really important foundation. Talk about vision and why that's such a key in a small community when you're trying to revive it, especially.
Well, I mean, I've never been anywhere. I stayed here. I've never lived anywhere else but Pawhuska, and my parents, they didn't remember living off somewhere else. They always they were here, and they had a love for Pawhuska, and my dad was always involved, and he had, he'd been mayor, and he'd been on chamber, and all that stuff, and my mom was very involved with school and church, and so you see in your community, when you've been raised that way in your community, and you start seeing things, one store goes out and another store goes out, and it's like, golly, because I don't want to go anywhere.
Right.
I don't want to go to. We always said we were 60 miles round trip from anywhere.
And that's pretty true here.
And that is.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to Winona, 10 miles away, that doesn't have a grocery store or anything. We're 60 miles round trip. So either you're coming here to get us, or you're coming here to see us. That's only when you're coming at that time.
Yeah.
And then my dad, in the funeral business, all these people were coming in. They came back. A lot of old hometown families, and we would care for their loved ones, and they would come home, and they would say things like, "Wow, man, I remember, what happened, well, you're living in Chicago, or you're in Dallas, or even Tulsa, or, and it starts tugging on you." And I just started looking at to see what you don't really see it at first, like what the Easleys have done, or what they were working on. They worked hard on that building, and they had, I don't know, there's probably 8 or 9 retail spaces underneath, and they had an auction, and they made those upstairs rooms into little apartments, but they worked their tails off. And same way with Raymond and them with their other buildings. They got in there and they worked on them, and it just, to see things starting to kind of spruce up, and we see these buildings burn. It's like, oh my gosh, we're losing everything.
Yeah.
And it's because of neglect. People aren't paying attention to what's going on, and you start looking at it that way, and you wonder, can I do something like that? And then you start kind of pushing that way, and then you realize, and it's probably one of the best things that I could have ever been involved with, because it's my town, and I had a piece of saving some buildings, because I'm sure the pool hall would. There's no telling. Well, maybe it wouldn't be gone, but it might have been if we wouldn't have gotten in there. There was 5 buildings on the corner to the south of us that finally fell in, and they scooped them up and hauled them off. And there's a big old empty corner. It's a parking lot now, but and it's been cleaned up. But to see all these big holes in the walls, and you couldn't. People at the time that owned them, they wouldn't even go in and clean them up.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even. And then if they did, they just, pardon me, but they half-assed it, and there was no. They push up some debris in the back and walk away from it, and it would just. You just keep looking at that stuff and seeing the houses. I mean, I had a house when I was 21, and I completely remodeled it. And it was one of the very few houses in Pawhuska that you could buy. Because I bought it back when the 79, 80, 81 oil boom was going on, so there was no property. You couldn't find it. Wow. And we still had a lot of our old people, our foundation people, maybe is what we call them, that have been here forever.
Sure.
They were still living at the time. And so these houses were all full, and you just start seeing all that. And then you start seeing your downtown just dwindle away. So
yeah,
that's kind of what you think, man, if I can just do one thing, and then move to the next, and next thing you know, you've done something. And we did. We had those 4 buildings right there together. We bought the first 3 pretty cheap, and we bought the one next door and gave $15,000 more for it than we bought the other 3 for, and we still had to do the same thing. First thing we did was put electric and central heat and air in them, and then you could at least offer them. And because the bathrooms were under the staircase, if they had a bathroom, under the staircase, and where you couldn't even hardly get into them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
I love that you were able to make it profitable, because I think that's a big concern. You buy these buildings that need a lot of help.
Right.
But you started with the necessities, and you made sure you could pay your mortgage. And then as people started to catch on, then eventually you were able to raise your rent, right?
Right.
And sell those buildings for profit.
Yes, and we weren't looking to sell them.
Yeah.
But because of Pioneer Woman, people were wanting to be here. And in fact, the first one that we sold was to Ladd Drummond, and that's when they were building P-Town. And he came in and said, "This is what we want to do." I shouldn't say, it's the second building. The first was some friends of ours that had a ranch out here, and they bought the end building, and we sold it because we knew that they would go in and do something with it, because a lot of people are unable to do that, and so they were able to go in and they completely remodeled the place and put in a gourmet hot dog shop in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. And you want to talk about the rumble? What's a gourmet? And well, they're going to show you. And they did, and it was really good. But the upstairs, they made a conference room, and they had their kitchen up there, and it was just, they did a great job. It was really beautiful what they did. And then we rocked along there, and they for several years, and then and we'd do a little upgrade here and there, and then we had a lady that wanted the other building, and so we had to put plumbing in there. But I want to probably say that our success story was Osage Outfitters.
Okay.
Because Joey and Callie started looking here and didn't know. I knew his great grandparents. I didn't really know at the time, but Joey comes into the chamber one day and he said, "Sir, we're looking for property. We're looking at open a business, and we'd like to know who owns this building, this building, this building," and. And this was before the Pioneer Woman.
Yeah.
And so he comes in and I said, "Oh, this building belongs here, and this one, this." And he said, "Well, I'll bring my wife back," because he was cowboying for a guy down by Stillwater, and she was working at a shop. They had been in school down there. And so he comes in the next week, and he said, "Hey, we really like this building, and this building." I said, "Well, that building, like the triangle. Everybody loves the triangle building. I don't know, but we knew that the triangle building was not available. And then the big blue building, the old Safeway building, that's down there empty." And I was like, "Son, I don't know if you know what you're thinking about. I've been in that building." And then he came up and he looked into our main Town Maker building, and he said, "We really like that building." I said, "Well, here's who you get a hold of with those others." But I said, "I'm who you get a hold of if you like this building." And I said, we could probably figure out a way to move Town Maker over into the pool hall side. And he said, "Well, I'll talk to my wife again." And he turns around and walks out. But before he shuts the door, he opens it back up and he said, "Sir, I want you to know, it's not if we come to Pawhuska, it's when." And I went, "Uh-oh, this boy is serious." And you start doing a jig whenever somebody like that, because you're getting ready to go through the goalpost on that deal. And sure enough, they came back and said, "We really like your building." So I went to Kathy and I said, "Hey, these kids want this building, and can we move? You think we can make this happen, move this over here, blah, blah?" She said, "Yeah." So we moved. We took all the petitions out and made it available to them, and they opened up 9 years ago last month. So those are the things that those are the things that go right along with your Pioneer Woman.
Yeah, right.
They were here before.
Yeah.
But that's what you call sweet success.
Yeah.
And they're still here, and now they rent 3 buildings.
Yeah.
But Ladd came in, and I know I kind of jumped back and forth, but Ladd came in and wanted that pool hall building, and we only had a couple of spaces rented at the time because we had a couple that moved down to another building. And so he said he wanted it and what he was doing, and that this is what he wants to do. And so we said, okay. And that's when P-Town came in. Pioneer Woman had already been open, but P-Town came in there. So that was our second building to sell. And then the 2 friends of Callie and Joey's bought the 2 that they're in. And then the others people started calling about. So it was tough, I couldn't have done it without my wife and Kathy and Kathy's mother. Kathy's mother grew up here, and she wanted to help, and that's something that is, I think, is important too. Is that there's people out there that want to help.
Yeah.
She said, I'm going to buy the windows. And was like, no, because along the back, all the windows were broke out.
Oh, okay.
Were broken out of it. This was when we just had the 3 buildings. No, we don't need, we don't want you to. No, that's what I want to do. She was going to put windows in those few windows in the back. And I think that you've got to let people help if they want. Mm-hmm. You don't let them run over you or anything. And of course, she would never. But it was so nice because it made her feel good, and it helped us out as well. And something about the revitalizing, you don't have to do it all right now. I think you touched on that a minute ago, but you don't have to do it all right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we went in and we did what we had to do. People don't know. And we did the things that people won't do because you don't see them.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, I talked to my son-in-law about that quite a bit. If you don't do those things now, it's going to interrupt something that you've got going later because you're going to have to go in there and tear up and redo and stop progress just to go in and do what you really should have done. Instead of making it look pretty, you should have had it functional.
Yeah.
Before you go in and start making it all pretty. And pretty can be a little dab of paint here. And we did that, we learned that. We wanted to go in and put in the electric and heat and air and all that, but that's not really what we wanted to do, but we knew we had to. But then we went back and scraped off some of the plaster and did some things like that when somebody would move out. And it's a dirty job, tough job, but all those things have to be done.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I feel
so
like
good. The name Townmaker is a special one, and there's a reason why you chose that. Tell that story, because I love that.
Well, I was blessed to have a godmother that was pure blood Osage, and my godfather was 7/8 Oto Awe. But I got to know her. I was in language class, Osage language class, and we became real close. And I had become real close to her family. And one of my relatives, his name was Darrell Kipp, and he was a welder, and he's a big old lovable guy. But everybody called him Big D. But Brother Darrell's Osage name was Dawagache, and rough translation of that is Townmaker. And way back in old Osage days, that Townmaker was the one that set up the camp, and always had a fond memories of Darrell. And so when we were trying to figure out what we would call this, that came to my mind. And so I told Kathy, I said, let's call it Tawagache. And she couldn't say it, so which I could have spelled it probably. And it's probably easier just to say Townmaker.
Yeah.
But it actually was in his honor. That's what I felt was in his honor, and my Aunt Hazel, my godmother. So they good people.
Yeah.
People. I was blessed to have them.
Very fun. So at this point, your initial dreams for downtown and some of these things, you've seen those come to pass. So now that those have been achieved, what are your new dreams for this town? What's next?
Oh, I don't know. My big dream is for us to get along.
Yeah.
That's what I really want.
Yeah.
I want us to put down the I don't know, the roughness and toughness and come back to a community. We always come together when times get tough. But right now, I know people laugh, but since COVID and all of this it just seems like everything is just flipped, and people are we just can't get along for anything. And that's my dream now, is for us to stop this crap that's going on, this nitpicky fighting and arguing, and this one getting mad over that and that one getting mad. I want us to come together and build a community that we have been in the past. We do have people that don't understand us that come in. You edit this if you want, but we have people that come in from California or some other spot, that's never lived here, and think that we need to be doing it their way. Well, you shouldn't have moved here if you want it to be like that. You should have stayed where you were.
Yeah.
And don't stir it up for everybody else.
Yeah.
And this and get on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to live like us, then be like us.
Yeah.
And it's not. I was at the city for 3.5 years, and it was tough. We had people move back, get on city council, and then we were dumb. We were stupid. Because we didn't do what they thought we should be doing, and then get everything all stirred up. And I had to pull away because it just got tough. I had to soak on it for about 4 years, and I don't want to cause anything, but I also don't want it. I don't want to cause any problems, but I don't want somebody else coming in here and tearing up any more than what we've been over the past few years. But that's also something I've thought about for a long time too, is with success, that type of animosity somehow makes its way into that success. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I would say, as you're out there working, not everybody's going to be on your team, mm-hmm. but you just got to keep moving forward with it, and pray that they take their gloves off and get in there and put leather gloves on, start helping you work.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Take those boxing gloves off and throw them over in the back of the truck with the rock and the grass and the old wood that you've been cleaning up, and get with it.
Yeah, no, that's good. So as the vision for the town was to get some of these businesses going, get people into these old buildings. And now, for the most part, there's definitely still opportunity, but you've done that to a certain degree. So now that you've got, everything's changed, right? Now you have all these people coming here.
Right.
And you have a whole new set of opportunities and challenges. So what's the vision for the town moving forward to continue to grow with what's happening, to continue to capitalize on what's happening?
Well, we've got to get workers.
Mm.
You have a town that we don't have housing.
Yeah.
For workers, we have people that are driving over an hour. I've even heard as long as an hour and a half.
Wow.
To go to work at the Merc. And I'm not saying that they would move here, but look at our realtor page. There's 3 or 4 houses, and used to it'd be, a whole page. Mm-hmm. And but people have come in and turned all the houses into Airbnbs.
Yeah.
And even when they weren't supposed to be, they have turned them into Airbnbs. But we've got to get housing for people that do want to come here, and not everybody. There's not enough Dial Hills or for housing, and that's the one thing that we probably never really thought a lot about until right now, because you didn't have to, I guess. But our forefathers, and that includes me, weren't thinking about this problem.
Right.
Or this, let me back up, this wonderful situation that we're in. That's the way we probably ought to look at that. Because it is. Mm-hmm. It just, some people that aren't into that are going to gripe about it. But some of us, it's a wonderful opportunity that we grabbed and are sailing on with, but we don't have, the city doesn't have a lot to offer as far as incentives. We've got a few properties that we've torn down old houses, but it's some of those properties that you're not going to build a brand new house next to 2 other old houses that are half fallen in.
Yeah.
And we don't have a lot of space. We're still not making enough revenues to go out and really buy property and recreate. That was always another goal of mine, is to recreate a neighborhood. I always wanted to go in and take out the older, either revitalize them, or go in and put in new houses that go along with our historic downtown, and our old 1920s and teens homes, and make them look like that, but they're all brand new. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I renovated one down across from the funeral home, and we still live there. But we made it a nice house, and people don't realize how nice it is until they come in. I'm not bragging, but I'm just saying that that's what we did.
Yeah.
I said, well, Dad can just walk across the street, because I'm building this for us to be here.
Yeah.
And Dad can just bring the gurney across the street and drag me back over to the funeral home, because this is where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm starting to second guess that now, to maybe want to have a one level, rather than have the bedrooms and everything upstairs. But it's a nice place, but it's not an Airbnb. It's a place it's a home. And that's why we did what we did. And we don't have in it what we would if we'd have built a brand new one.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I do think it's important to keep that historic integrity, because that's part of what makes Pawhuska special.
Our downtown is on a historic register. And it says we had 90 plus, but I mean, we have since lost a few of them. But we still have those. And it was exciting when the Killer of the Flower Moon shot here, and they rolled in and painted and spruced up the facades of all these buildings, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is an old 1920s town. Uh-huh. And I mean, our buildings downtown we were up there. There were more big fancy cars sold here than anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
And the funeral home was built in 1925. The Johnsons came in 1905, but Mr. Johnson bought that block over there, and then he built the funeral home. And on the front page of the paper, and it might have been 1926 when the article came out, but it said Johnson's build $60,000 funeral home. And if you go by and look at that, it's a really cool old building. It's down off the beaten path, but it was a state-of-the-art funeral home, because funeral business wasn't that big back then. But in that article, it says it's the finest facility this side of Kansas City. And they made them put 4 apartments upstairs and 3 storefronts, because funeral business wasn't that big. But it was built. It was a cool old building, and it still is. My nephew's done a lot of work to it to keep it that way. But if you ever get them to that point, then it's upkeep.
Yeah.
But that's the deal, is getting them to that point. We've been there long enough at our house that we're starting to have to replace and redo and stuff.
Yeah.
We've been there 16, 17 years, and you start having to replace stuff. But you have to do that with a brand new home.
Yeah, it's just part of it.
Yeah.
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 I've been impressed with, like you said, the movie came in, and some of the facade improvements, or the things that they did with the facades, it's still there, and you can see it.
Right.
And I love it, because you can drive down Kahika, and there's something that it does, like the lettering on the windows and just the fresh paint can make a huge difference. And it takes some buildings that were looking pretty run down, and makes it also, like, I think it shows opportunity. People see potential, and they're like, oh, you could put a business in there. I don't know. There's something about that. I just think it really sparks ideas, and It's amazing what just a little bit of flair can do to a building and make it really, it just shifts the perspective of some of those buildings.
There's very few buildings downtown that aren't not occupied.
Yeah.
There's a stretch through there, but they took some of those buildings and there are some folks that have purchased them that are working on them too. That makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
And really doing a great job with them. And hopefully that will spark them to keep going right on down, because there are some that, are still boarded up, and it makes a total difference in your whole block.
Yeah.
But when they came in there and they painted, they put facades on that looked like the old 1920s, even some of those just wooden buildings. And what they did, I mean, they're even an empty lot, they went in and built a fake facade of a brick building, and pretty cool. And,
yeah, it was.
So, but if we can get people's interest, there's still out of town building owners that really don't know what's going on, and are not going to do anything. They don't have to, and if they could just see what they did to them, I mean, and a lot of them left it.
Yeah.
What they did, because it looks 3 times better, and we're glad they did.
Yeah.
So, but most of the people that are down there are starting to kind of pay attention and keep them up a little bit more.
That's good. Why is it important to create a place where young people either want to stay or they want to come back to? I know that's been kind of a long-term vision of yours.
Yeah, that was. I told my girls, I said, their job is to get their education, and my job, because I had just taken the chamber job the first round, and my job is to have something here for you when you come home, if you so desire. And my youngest did, and that's what's exciting too, is to see. I'm not saying I created that, but when you keep your eye on the prize, and your baby girl moves home, that means something.
Yeah.
And it allowed her husband, my son-in-law, also to move home. And I really didn't know if that would ever happen.
Yeah.
But my youngest works for Ree, and she was one of the first ones that she hired when she opened up. So she's a purchaser. So it was a great opportunity for her. And then Matt later, he was working off in southeastern Oklahoma, and they ended up dating. They've known each other all their lives, and I don't know how it all worked out, but it was my oldest daughter. He was my oldest daughter's best friend, but they ended up dating, and then ended up getting married. And he got a job here, and now they live here, and I've got 2 grandchildren that live here, and that's key.
Yeah.
That's key, to try to have something for our kids. And I know we visited about your little town, and there's amazing things that can happen. It's such a rural area that I mean, you just have to keep reinventing.
Yeah.
To try to figure out just what, because there is that little niece of yours, or that your cousin's granddaughter or something, that always loved Pawhuska. My little brother's kids call Pawhuska home. And they've never lived here. They've lived in Kansas City their entire life. And that just makes me they're coming this weekend, and it just makes my heart just full. So that they love it and call it home, and never have lived here. And I mean, there probably nothing that would ever happen that we get them home, but you just, there are those people, if we just find the right opportunity to drag them back home. So
yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it's good. It makes it all worth it.
It does.
All the hard work to see that happen.
Right.
Makes it worth it.
Yep, it does.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm living a dream. My son-in-law leased some of their country back, and all my life I've wanted to have cattle, and I have cattle now, and horses, and I've always had a cow here, or a horse here or something like that. But now to be able to at 60 finally meet one of your goals that you set when you graduated high school.
Yeah.
But don't ever give up. So
It's a good word.
Keep your eye on the prize. That's for sure.
So good. I love it. Well, Mike, this has been an incredible discussion. You're such an inspiration to me, and I know you will be to so many other people. So thanks for your time. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you. You're very kind to say that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about you, but I learned so much from this conversation. I love that Mike is living his dream, and I love his passion to continue to push the vision forward in Pawhuska. If you find yourself in Pawhuska, be sure to stop by the chamber and say hi to Mike and Reba. They'll be glad to welcome you to town. Just a reminder to go check out our Cultivate community. It's free just for this month. You can sign up now at ruralrevival.co/cultivate with the code CULTIVATEFREE, one word, all caps. Huge thanks to Mike for being on the podcast, and thanks to you for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.